one of the top signings that happened, or one of the only signings that's happened these past couple of days, was Dennis Schroder signing with the Boston Celtics. Signed for the mid-level exception of $5 million.
That's still some good money to me.
Which, I mean, is an outcry from the 84 he was offered by the Lakers. I think when we talk about free agency losers, I don't think it was a team. I think it was a player, and I think it was Dennis Schroder. I mean, he lost a lot of money. With that being said, all everybody is talking about is the money that he lost. Nobody is talking about how much better the Celtics got with this move. I think the Celtics got way better with this move. And I think I said this on my video that I made yesterday. Dennis Schroder fumbled the bag, but he didn't mess up a better opportunity. The Celtics are a better opportunity than the Lakers because with LA, with the Lakers, you are always under this constant microscope to succeed. If you're LeBron James' teammate, you're always under this microscope to succeed. I told you Dennis Schroder in the playoffs, he had an average series. His averages didn't drop off crazy. LeBron's averages dropped off across the board. We were here debating with Drew. Drew said it's because of his ankle. Dennis Schroder came back from COVID. You don't give him that same excuse. I wish Drew was here today because I would have told him that too. He didn't give him that excuse. He didn't say Schroder had COVID. He said Schroder's trash. When you're LeBron's teammate, if you win, you get no credit. If you lose, you get all the blame. And I don't think that's fair. Schroder isn't the shot creator Kemba is. He's also not as ball dominant as Kemba is either, even though he does need the ball in his hands. They got a 10 times better defender in Dennis Schroder. And I think now you can try to the lineup of Schroder, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford.
Oh, my God.
Defensively, that's one of the most versatile lineups in the entire NBA. But I'm not even sure if he'll start. Because if I'm Boston, my biggest problem last year was bench scoring. They could start Pritchard. Pritchard can be a good 3-and-D guard. Schroder can close out the games. But you start Pritchard, and now you got a given 16 to 19 a game off of Schroder off the bench with Josh Richardson, with Enes Kanter, with Robert Williams, with Nesmith. And now your bench is really good, one of the top in the league. And I think that makes much more sense for them. But either way, I think this was an amazing signing for Boston.
I'm 50-50 on it because it depends on where they want to put Schroder. First of all, you have this misconception of you and these 3-and-D point guards. It's killing me. It's really killing me. The Boston Celtics had the same problems that the Los Angeles Clippers have been crying about. They don't have a point guard so that Kawhi and PG can be put in their position to score. That's the same. They have this. They've been praising about the same problems that those guys have. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown need a point guard. Now, I'm 50-50 on it because if Schroeder is a backup point guard, I think this is an amazing signing because Schroeder, I think he thrives better as the sixth man, as the guy who doesn't, he just has to come in and go get a bucket. I think that's where he's played his basketball at. But if he's starting in the backcourt with Smart, you kind of get an erratic backcourt, two guys who just play kind of erratic. You don't know what you expect. Smart especially, but defensively, I think that's a great, closeout lineup, because I think Schroeder guards the point guard spot really well. We know what Smart is. We know what Brown is. We know what Tatum is. And Al Horford, if he's still got anything left in the tank, he's still going to be a good defender at least. So, but I think, like I said, it really depends because, starting Pritchard's kind of small, but I think you can start him. He has a little bit of playmaking.
He has heart.
That too.
He does have heart.
Yeah, he does.
He's gonna play D.
No, he's definitely gonna play defense. They have so small guards, so it's tricky. But like I said, if Schroder's coming off the bench, this is a rental, and this is an amazing rental. He can definitely make some noise for them.
I think Pritchard, it just gives him a better floor spacer if he starts because he shoots 40% from three. Schroeder's like at 34 to 36%. If I'm a defender and I see Schroeder wide open, I might just box out. I might just get ready to box out. If I see Pritchard, I'm putting a rocket in my ass and I'm going. I'm closing out. I'm getting my hand up on Pritchard because he's a deadly shooter. But Schroeder, I might not do that. I'll just box out.
You couldn't just say, I'm going to just close out. You got to put a rocket in your ass.
Hey, I'm speeding. I'm speeding there. I'm trying to go.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My thing is, what does it matter? Because the offense going to go through JT anyway, right? So, you want to talk about this gravity that Pritchard going to bring in. like 99% of that gravity is going to JT. So I think there's no reason for me that Schroder doesn't start. And I mean, Jason Tatum, he gave us so many signs last season that, like, even though through bench, scoring woes, he was still able to lead his team, to a solid seed with Jaylen Brown out too. So I think it's solid. I don't know about if it's a better fit than, I don't know if this makes them much better. Because like I said, we can talk about like the scoring numbers for everyone. But
let me ask you a question. How much of a drop off is Schroder to Kemba?
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I was about to say. I don't think it is either. But
what's the Celtics ceiling? Like, where do you think they could finish seeding wise?
6 to 8.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe 5th.
Wow.
Fifth is a really extreme ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
I think Bucks,
Nets.
Nets, Miami, Philly, and Atlanta. I think are all better.
Atlanta is not better than Boston.
I think they'll have a better regular season.
They're not better than Boston. I am tired of this Boston slander.
They had a better
Star
season
power
last
wins
year.
in the NBA. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are two of the top 25 players. Jason Tatum, he's creeping in that top 10. Jaylen Brown could be top 20. If those guys are healthy all year long, there is no way they are any less than a 6th seed. They can be the 3rd seed in the East. You said 6 to 8. Nah, there's no way they will be 8. No way. Their floor is 6.
No.
Their floor is 6. Boston, with JT and JB healthy all year, can be the 3rd best team in the East.
You got to understand, too, look at their division, too, because they got to play Philly 4 times.
They were,
4 times.
when before Jaylen Brown went down and they all three were
Got
playing.
COVID.
No, before whatever happened, they were seventh at that moment, struggling to keep 7th.
The entire year they were impacted by COVID.
Everybody was, come on, bro.
Not every team was.
But I'm saying everybody had that opportunity to be impacted by COVID, bro.
All I'm saying is that.
And Jaylen Brown didn't go down with COVID. He got hurt.
No. I didn't say he got COVID.
Oh.
I said the Celtics were impacted by COVID all year. Al Horford, I think, is a good center still. When you get that bench scoring with Schroder, I think that's a big upgrade. Josh Richardson, he didn't play well in Dallas, but we know he's a good player. And I think he'll be good for them off the bench. And his cancer solves their bench scoring as well, even though he's unplayable at certain times of the game. Boston, as long as JT and JB are healthy, they're, to me, the 4th or 3rd best team in the Eastern Conference, especially with this addition of Dennis Schroder. Atlanta's not better than Boston. They are not better than Boston.
Why?
Because the Celtics got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. That's why. That's why they're not better than
Atlanta
Boston.
got Trae Young.
Yeah, Trae Young is not better than Jason Tatum.
But he's better than Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, you're right. I'll give you that.
He's better than Jaylen Brown. So.
But Jason Tatum, we're forgetting that Jason Tatum right now is emerging.
So you're saying their ceiling is 3rd? You said 3rd
yes,
or 4th.
It's
so
3rd. We are forgetting about Jason Tatum and how great he is. He's led Boston to 2 Eastern Conference Finals appearances at his young age. He's 23 right now, I believe. He's still getting better. Jason Tatum is a superstar in the making. He's coming sooner than later. And I think this year is the year where he's going to take off and we're going to be like, he's here. Jason Tatum is here. They definitely won't be a 6th seed in the East. I think they'll be 3rd, especially with Dennis Schroder with that bench scoring. JB taking that leap again. I think averaging 25 last year. They're gonna be good.
It's funny to me because you said they dealt with COVID and they dealt with a lot of injuries. Atlanta dealt with COVID and dealt with a lot of injuries. Still ended up 5th seed. Miami dealt with injuries. They dealt with a lot of. They still ended up higher than Boston. So it's like you saying all that. Even the Nets, they had their fair share of injuries.
Philly too.
Still, Philly had a bunch of injuries. They still landed 1 and 3.
Philly with Embiid when he was hurt. They were in a 500 team.
But they still were at first. They did their damage. Atlanta.
Because when Embiid was there, they were that great when he was there. But I'll say this.
I'm saying when all 3 of them, when Boston had their 3, they weren't that great. When all 3 of them, they weren't great.
I'll say this. I think Boston has been longing for a change of scenery, those players. I think Brad Stevens moving into that executive role and Ime Udoka coming in as coach, they needed a breath of fresh air. And I think Udoka is that coach to do that. He's the player's coach. He's learned under some great head coaches, most notably Greg Popovich. I think he'll do great in Boston. I just believe that people right now are sleeping on superstar talent in the NBA. When we look at these teams, the reason why I'm so high on the Knicks is because we have a lot of depth. Boston doesn't have a lot of depth. If JB or JT goes down, they're gonna tumble. But when healthy, Boston is better than Miami. They are better than Atlanta. They are right there with Philly.
That's tough.
They're
better than Miami?
Yeah.
How?
yes,
How?
Yeah.
because Jason Tatum is the best player.
He was the
between
best.
those
He
two
was the best
teams.
player when Miami beat them.
Jaylen Brown is better than Jimmy Butler right now.
What the? What?
No.
So one series changed your mind?
Also, when did you just start falling in love with Jaylen Brown?
I love Jaylen Brown.
You did not love Jaylen Brown last year.
Hating, yeah.
I was never hating on Jaylen Brown. I said if you have the opportunity to get James Harden, you ship out Jaylen Brown right now.
One series has turned you into saying Jaylen Brown is better than Jimmy Butler. It had to be because you didn't say that before last year.
I just believe. Yeah, you're right. I just believe right now Jaylen Brown is ready to take that to really solidify himself in this league.
That's interesting.
And I think Jimmy's older. He's on his way out right now
But
in terms of outside that conversation where we rank those top echelon players in the NBA.
He still got a solid 2 years of this.
Not even his game isn't predicated on.
Let's just go lineup for lineup. Dennis Schroder versus Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry.
You think it's a big gap?
It's not a big gap, but we know who's better.
In terms of what's for the team, Kyle Lowry.
We know who's better.
Marcus Smart or Duncan Robinson?
Probably Smart.
Okay. Or Oladipo if he starts. I still think it's pretty even. Jaylen Brown or Jimmy Butler?
Jimmy Butler.
You see. Jason Tatum or PJ Tucker?
Jason Tatum.
And then
Bam.
Al Horford and Bam.
Bam.
I do think Al Horford can do a good job on him, though.
But Bam is better.
Yeah.
Don't try to play that because Jimmy Butler can obviously do a good job on Brown.
I think it's an evenly matched team, though. I don't think.
Okay, it's fair to say, but
I just think the star power Boston has puts them over. Because I just think Tatum's the best player between those two.
You could have said that when they played in the bubble. They had this. You could have said that star power. I picked Boston to win because of the star power. They lost
7 games, right, or 6? I think it was 6.
6.
You also, time and time again on this show, reiterated the fact that Kemba Walker didn't show up.
But I also, and don't get me wrong, I've reiterated the fact that star power wins out. But I think we're forgetting that Kyle, Bam, and Jimmy are stars. That's 3 stars, whether they're low end or high end. Bam is, just like you say, Jason Tatum is emerging, Brown is on his way. Bam is also on his way. Butler's
they're
here.
Stars, but Tatum is superstar.
Tatum is a superstar, but I think Jimmy, Bam, and Kyle Lowry are all stars. Jimmy is probably, if people want to say Brown is better, okay, but they're right there. I think Jimmy's a little bit ahead of him, but they're right there. And Bam is right under them on his way, which is, you can't say the same about anybody on Boston. And the same thing with Kyle Lowry. Nobody's even on Kyle Lowry's level.
I think they're an evenly matched team. When we talk about Atlanta, I think Boston is better than Atlanta.
That's a fair thing to say.
What about their bench, though?
Atlanta's deeper than Boston.
Kevin Herter off the bench. Right?
Atlanta's deeper than Boston.
But if Dennis Schroder comes off the bench, whose bench is better, Atlanta or Boston's?
Still, because I think Atlanta outside of Schroeder, you still got Lou Will, you still got Onyeka, you still got
you got Enes Kanter.
Yeah, that's true.
Got Josh Richardson.
I'm not. We gotta wait and see. We gotta wait and see.
I agree, but Josh Richardson, I think, is just as good as a player as Kevin Herter.
In the playoffs?
Well,
yeah, like that's what I said. That's a wait and see moment right there. But I think Atlanta's a little bit deeper than.
Well, Kevin Herter had one playoff run, right? I mean, I think with the Atlanta Hawks right now, this is not me hating.
This is a wait and see.
I know people think this is me hating. We saw the Atlanta Hawks have one playoff run. All of their young players played exceptional. Bogdanovich played bad. He didn't play too well as it progressed. But all of their young players played exceptional. Trae Young was historical. Kevin Herter was awesome. DeAndre Hunter, when he played, was good. John Collins was 14-10. Nothing to rave about. Right. Everybody played well. We saw before with Miami in that bubble run, another young player played really well, Tyler Hero. And then in this playoffs, he didn't play well. We have to wait and see. One playoff run does not mean that in every single series you're going to play well, because we know in the playoffs especially things fluctuate. You can be bad and you can be good. It fluctuates.
The same way how you said Tyler Hero did that, you could also say Boston, we didn't know they were going to play that well, and then they did it again. So this can happen with Atlanta. They can do this again the same way Boston did, or they can flop the way Miami did.
I'm just going to, historically, let's look at this. Young teams that have made runs in the playoffs, the next year have dropped off. 2018 in Boston, they faced the Cavs. They lost in 7. Rookie Tatum led them to ECF. Very next year, lost in the second round to the Bucks. Tatum didn't play well. Everybody dropped off. OKC with their big three when they made the finals and they lost to the Heat. Never made the finals again. Most of it was due to Harden getting traded, but they never made it again.
They made the WCF repeatedly, though.
Yeah, but they always injuries were nagging, and they never made the finals again. Indiana with PG.
They back
He
to back
was
ECF.
rising superstar, never got to quite that level again. All I'm saying is that when these young teams make a run, usually it's that one burst, that one shining moment, and then we don't hear about them.
Here's the
Because
difference.
Boston is still trying to reach that again.
Here's the difference. When Boston made that run in 2018, their two best players didn't play. The two best players came back, and the continuity was ruined. Atlanta, when they walked into the playoffs, those are their guys that they're going to walk in with these same year. Like you said, OKC 2013 or 2012, went to the finals. Harden's gone. The same team isn't there. Indiana, back-to-back ECFs. Paul George never got back to that level, but also that team completely changed.
I agree with you, Rib, but this is the thing. The East at that time did not get better the way that it got better this year.
That's a fair point.
Miami got better. The Knicks got better. Say what you want, but the Knicks got better.
No, I think the Knicks got better.
Boston with Schroder and the additions of Josh Richardson and Canner, they got better.
Trying to praise this Josh Richardson guy.
No, because Josh Richardson is not a bad player.
We'll see,
They got better. The Nets,
Yeah, okay.
they're extending KD, Harden, and Kyrie. They're going to be here for a while. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Milwaukee coming off a championship. Philly, depending on where Simmons goes.
Atlanta beat Philly. Not worried about Philly.
Nah, come on.
They beat Philly.
You are worried about Philly.
They're not
Stop
worried
playing.
about it. They're not worried about Philly.
And then with other Indiana getting healthy, they got better. Last year everybody Warren had a
Indiana
season
better than Atlanta?
No.
Oh, okay. Don't do
Chicago, they got better.
Yeah.
But Indiana, the entire season, TJ Warren was out. That was the bubble star. He was a superstar in the bubble.
And that's it.
But almost every team in the East got better. Charlotte, they got better. I'm just saying, like, Atlanta didn't make any moves this offseason for you to be like, okay, they got better. You can say that they're going to have more continuity next season, but in terms of talent, they did not get better.
I think they're getting better is just growing, their young players growing. With Boston,
But you need stars to win.
But with Boston, you can say they got better, but we don't know until, because these are, as of right now, damaged pieces that are coming from teams that didn't want them anymore. Dennis Schroder was on the market and nobody wanted him. Josh Richardson barely played in the playoffs.
But I told you about Schroder. In a regular season, he averaged 15, 4, and 6.
No, I get it, but
in the
his
playoffs, 14, 3,
his
and 3.
stock dropped because
His stock did drop.
So it's like these are damaged goods that are trying to be revived
But
back in Boston.
is it that, or because I think most of the times when these contract things happen, we tend to blame the players all the time.
Well, he was asking for too much money.
No, yeah, I understand you, but could it be this? Could it be that some of these teams wanted Schroder? A Washington wanted Schroder, but they settled for Dinwiddie because Schroder said, you know what? I kind of still want to bet on myself. And I think betting on myself is going to a team that can win and I can help win. I think the reason I think he chose Boston was because if we go on a run next year, I'm going to get paid. He's betting on himself again. It might flop again, but he's betting on himself. And I think it's going to sound crazy, but Dennis Schroder is motivated. He's determined. He sees the backlash on social media. He posted on his Instagram story that keep that same energy, people. He has a chip on his shoulder. And I think a motivated athlete, sometimes the best comes out. And the way Schroder has played throughout his career, he's always played with that chip on his shoulder, with that assertiveness. And I think this is just going to help him even more.